The Trump assassination plot details don't add up. Yeah, exactly. We know that's the problem.
About the latest news out of this shooting and the fallout from it, the Department of Homeland Security's Inspector General has opened an investigation. Do you think that we're going to get the truth?
Opening an investigation to investigate themselves. I wonder how this is going to turn out.
Truth about what happened here and why there was such an obvious security failing.
The security failing, by the way, is monumentally bad. Because if you show the security plans what they plan to do to any normal person, every single person would be like, hey, how about this very obvious spot where something bad could happen? Why aren't you actually covering this place?
I think we'll get an excuse and a lot of finger pointing. I'm not sure that we'll get the truth. And those are two very different things. Washington is very good at blame and finger pointing. My guess is that you see this report come out. The people that I'm talking to at very, very high levels, James, are saying that they're going to blame the local law enforcement and say that it was their responsibility to cover this particular building and the roof. I just, at the end of the day,
we have already heard this, I think, 2 days ago. This was a thing that people were talking about. That local law enforcement came out and said, hey, yeah, obviously the FBI was in full... No, not the FBI, but whoever was in charge was in full in charge. Because obviously you're not going to let local law enforcement who have not done things like this take charge on an operation of, protecting the ex-president. So, obviously, if local law enforcement gets blamed for this, no one is going to believe that.
I don't think people are going to buy that because the Secret Service has an overarching responsibility for protection.
Yep.
Yeah, and I mean, Sean, you've traveled with the Secret Service and with the president. In a previous life, I've traveled with previous presidents as a member of the press corps, and I see how the Secret Service operates. They're very, very professional and very, very thorough. And it seems to me that these new reports now that apparently the rifle was somehow secreted away in that building before the event, this all raises more and more questions.
I have not heard this, but again, kind of insane. I remember when Trump was visiting my country. I'm pretty sure it was Trump. And, well, I know a couple of people, and effectively two different groups said, oh, yeah, people not even a month before the visit were already there scouting locations and doing all of that crazy stuff. Okay? And this is no joke.
And it does answers.
Oh, yeah, you're putting it exactly right. Every day that goes by, there's another piece of information that comes out that makes you go, this just doesn't add up, right? So this guy comes out today. We're talking about the phone, that he's got all these other targets. I mean, I'm sorry, what 20-year-old that has this kind of background has no digital footprint whatsoever?
You know what's the funniest part about this, honestly? It's the fact that day one, this happened, and, well, not day one, I think it was day two. And the FBI or whoever announced that, yeah, well, we can't really get into his phone and we have no idea what's on there, but he worked alone. Don't you worry about that part. He was alone, 100% sure. Couldn't get into his phone, but, trust us, bro, trust us. When have we ever done you wrong?
I mean, it's like he's on because he's on this one app that they're apparently saying maybe now they're not. It's confusing. But that he has no digital footprint that leads him to believe that he had a political vengeance, a motive, a concern, some kind of mental illness. And yet all the other stuff doesn't add up, right? There's just more questions. And
also, this is like an old picture of him. They are not using any newer pictures of him. And that's kind of wild. I wonder why. I wonder why.
Funny part about this, James, I don't understand the Secret Service, the head of the Secret Service you mentioned, her Kimberly Cheadle. She shows up at the Republican National Convention, and she doesn't think this is going to be topic number one, where all these delegates and members of Congress are. They have a press conference right after the shooting. They don't acknowledge anything to do with the shooting. Then this director herself shows up and doesn't think that that's going to be topic du jour.
It's just unbelievable, Sean. But, you know, the other thing that came out of this, of course, was that amazing photograph of Donald Trump holding his fist up. You've got the flag in the background. One of the things that's coming out now, and Axios is reporting that some photographers and photo editors are now saying, we don't want to use the pic. We don't want to show that picture. We don't think people will be showing that picture anymore because it helps Trump. And I just think this is absolutely amazing that
Too late.
you have elements of the media that are now willing to forego an iconic news image because of politics. What's your reaction to that?
You want to see my shocked face?
Yeah, there we go.
I mean, honestly, just let's be clear. CNN's headline was Trump falls down after a loud
Yeah.
bang. The USA Today was Pops hurt.
People only mention CNN usually, but every almost news agency was like, Trump falls down. A little bit of a commotion at a rally happened. Secret Service helps Trump get off the podium. Like he's Joe Biden or something.
Heard at event. What New York Times said, you know, someone in the background goes pop, pop, pop at Trump rally. There was another headline that says gunman killed at Trump rally. I mean, look, if you think that's what's going to shock me, you're nuts. This media has been lying and against President Trump and the conservative movement for a long, long time. It's sad, it's pathetic, but it's not surprising.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, you know, it's getting to the point where I'm expecting New York District Attorney to
Lowest people have the least trust in the news that they have ever had in all of history at this point. It's kind of crazy.
indict Trump for avoiding an assassination attempt. But let's move on here to some of the polls that we're seeing around the joint. Recent polling is showing Trump leading in every battleground state, ticking up slightly in the days over the last week. Particularly, it showed Trump leading Biden in Virginia, 45-43. I find it extraordinary that Virginia is in play here. What's going on?
Which was the place that had the tampering allegations with the voting machines? I can't remember, but you know what was really funny that happened? They did it. I don't remember which is the place, but they did an investigation in the machines, and they said everything looked fine. And now the crash happened. I forgot what it's called, but you know, the big crash that broke a lot of things, Windows related and whatnot. And well, for some reason, I don't know if this is true, but people have been reporting that these voting machines that are not connected to the internet, that were not hacked or anything, because they're not even connected to the internet, investigators said, got affected by the crash that only affected things connected to the internet. If that's true, that is hilarious.
What's going on is that as the election comes into focus, more people from one side of the United States to the other are looking at the Biden record and contrasting it to the Trump record and saying, I'll take that over that any day of the week. I mean, whether it's interest rates, inflation, foreign policy.
But think about the mean tweets.
The border, jobs, everything was better under Trump. And I think the more people focus on the election, the choice is becoming clearer and clearer. You're going to have the hardcore people on both sides, no question about it. But you look at a state like Virginia that hasn't voted Republican presidentially since 2004. You look at New Hampshire, Minnesota, even California, which I don't think will win, but it's tied. New York within single digits, Rhode Island, single digits. James, the one thing that scares me, and I'm telling you, reports are coming out right now in the United States saying that over the weekend that Biden will step down. Unfortunately,
Currently, you know what's trending, by the way? Rumor is that Hillary Clinton is going to replace him. It was her turn. He stole it. Oh my god, it was her turn. Now we're getting the lady who literally paid money to create false information about Trump working with Russia, that some people still, to this day, think that this is true, by the way, even though she even had to pay a fine for the... By the way, she just had to pay, like, it wasn't even a big fine. It wasn't even $1 million. It wasn't even 100K, I think. She had to pay a fine for disclosing something incorrectly, aka the payment that she did to create the Steele dossier that the whole Trump Russiagate allegations were based upon. She literally paid for that.
I believe these reports, and I have been very reluctant to think that Joe Biden was going to give this up. I believe that COVID gave him an off-ramp, and he's taking it. But I'm telling you, mark my words, I think Republicans better be careful what they wished for. It is a very different race no matter who it is. Do I think we can win? Absolutely. But just understand that the game changes. It's inserting one team for another team, and you have to change your strategy to win. And I'm just saying, I think Republicans better be very careful about understanding.
I'm just saying Alex Jones at this point has been right about everything, but that's okay.
What's about to happen.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, I just saw some footage of Kamala Harris speaking in North Carolina. She seems very pumped up and ready to go. What about how she would play? You've got this female candidate, minority female.
Bro, Kamala Harris, there's no such thing as a person in this world who actually likes her.
Candidate. How would she play in some of these suburban kind of areas that are big battlegrounds, and which was already going to be a big fight between the immigration issue and the abortion issue? Would Kamala Harris activate a female vote, which is already tilting the Democrat way, into bigger numbers?
You're asking the right question, right? Let's say she teams up with a Gretchen Whitmer or potentially a Josh Shapiro, the governor of Pennsylvania. I don't know. That's the point, and that's why you're asking the right question. These X factors. Does she fire up black women? Does she fire up women in general? I don't think so, but I will tell you this, for all of the...
Bro, she removes the wetness from other women. That's how big her impact is, okay? She makes them dry.
Us, people like me and you, the people who watch your show, we're in tune. We're following the bouncing ball politically as it goes from one side to another. But there's a lot of Americans that really don't know much about.
I can already, I just look at her, like I can already hear her laughing like a hyena and explaining to people, we are gonna take the bus. The bus is a machine that goes from place to place and picks up people. And we're gonna get on this bus because that's what you do on a bus. Oh my god. Dude, literally probably the most unlikable person in the world, and she's not trying.
Her because Amazing. They don't know much about most vice presidents. That's normal in American politics. And so a few $100 million of ad spending by Hollywood liberals might be able to make some differences on the edge. I think they'll be more unified if Joe steps down. But the bottom line is this: I don't like change. I'm a 50-year-old white guy that's just, and so I would argue, we, get off my lawn. I know what we've got with Joe Biden, and I would rather stick with that than any X factor right now. Do I think we can beat Kamala Harris? Absolutely. Is she going to own the border and its results? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, Biden stepping aside provides an opportunity for the Democrats to say, okay, guys, we wanted him to step aside.
Yeah, I also ironically think Biden stepping down is probably the best thing ever, because it's like, dude, Biden goes up on stage and he can't even say 3 words in a sentence correctly. He just minces them up. Biden can't even recognize his wife. Dude, one of the most hilarious things that I absolutely lost it was, the video where Joe Biden tries to kiss a woman that's, just in the colors of her wife and has blonde hair. And the tweet said, Joe Biden was not 83% sure that this woman was Jill Biden. And then Jill Biden rushes up and it says, Jill Biden was 100% sure Joe Biden thinks that this woman is Jill Biden. I just lost it so hard that it is insane. It's hilarious. Oh my lord, this is just absolute clown world, but honestly I can say. Well, anyway, that was Sky News. Hilarious. Oh boy, what a time to be alive. Bye-bye.